Morena, and welcome to RISE2025 International Women's Day. Conversations continue here as we celebrate everything about being women globally. On March the 8th, we celebrated International Women's Day, but here in Aotearoa in New Zealand, we continue the conversations. So this morning, I'm really delighted to have with me Sina Wendt-Moore, who is the CEO of Leadership New Zealand. Morning, Sina.
Morning and talofa, Rachel. Wonderful to be here speaking with you.
Fantastic to see you. And Sina and I connected when I first arrived back in Aotearoa about six and a half months ago. And we actually haven't seen each other since that. So I'm so glad that we can connect virtually.
Yes, it's great. And I can't believe it's only been 6 months. When I look at what you've done and what you're doing, gosh, really honour you for that, for the work that you're doing, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. So we're going to dive straight in because, I really want to hear your perspectives. And I know you have a strong voice, Sina, in terms of women in leadership, equality, and really the conversations that you have and the way that you use social media and your platform as a CEO really inspires me, and I recognise the work that you do in this space.
Thank you.
So, would you like to introduce yourself, Sina? Because I know you have a very rich history and a rich background. So, please.
Oh, of course. Thank you. So, I guess first and foremost, I identify myself as a Samoan woman, and through that, I'm also then a Pacific woman. And having been born and raised in Samoa and having spent my first 17 years of my life in Samoa, I then came to New Zealand. So I'm also a migrant to this country. And I've actually spent more than half my life here now, coming up to, 34 years, something like that. Lost count. So that's been a really big part of my experience too, in shaping who I am now at 50. I'm also a mother, so I'm married to an amazing man called Johnny. He is also, like me, part Samoan, part German, part Irish. And between us, we have and born and raised in Samoa. So between us, we have 2 adult children, Isabella and Ashley, who are now young adults and off doing their own thing in the world. So I'm really pleased about that. And I guess behind me, I come from a huge family in Ainga in Samoa. That's the Wendt side of me. And my grandfather, my father, my grandmother, who I never met, all of that the rich ancestors in my history have all shaped where I've landed to today. Also really privileged to draw on English, Welsh heritage through my mother, Jenny. And I was very fortunate through my life and my children's lives, actually, that not only did I grow up with both the grandparents on my Palangi side, but my children grew up with their grandparents and great-grandparents. Wow. So I was really lucky to have my Nana and Papa around until way into their 90s. They passed in the last 5 years. So who I am today really is a whole mix of them and the wonderful journey that I've been on, and the really privileged life I think I've had to lead so far.
Yeah. And I love that mix of cultures, that mix of generations has really helped shape you. And I really meant that when I said the rich history that you come from. And how has whānau or family really played a role in your role as a leader, Sina?
Good question. So I think it's been about embedding a set of values, which I've then seen and experienced through my life with family, my life with my parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles. And those core values would probably be, and I haven't really articulated them before. So love and alofa, that responsibility that we have to be part of something bigger than us. So I recognize, and I've always recognized from very young, that my life is connected in so many ways to those people around me. And then I also have had a sense that my life being not my own in a good way, that actually I then have a responsibility to create an impact in a positive way. So I grew up with very strong role models in family and community in Samoa, with people who led in different ways, you know, and it wasn't always big public things. It was the influence and how we are and how we exist within our context of our families. So love and alofa, I think the Palangi side of me has really brought a sense of we all have individual responsibility. So I think I had the best of both worlds, where I'm very collectively connected, but at the same time I recognize there are my strengths. As an individual, I've been privileged to have been able to choose in my life the things that I wanted to do and the places I wanted to be. There's huge value in that, and being able to shape, right? Resilience and perseverance, and maybe being outside the box a bit, being prepared to step up. You know, my father in particular, in his very public roles, was, you know, so I think all of those things have brought me to where I am. I've had some stuff go wrong in my life, which has also really shaped decisions that I now make, particularly around parenting and how I was as a parent. But I think fundamentally there's a saying that Maria Montessori said once when she designed and kind of thought about her teaching, the way she created her teaching methodology, which is to help me help myself. So while I have a collective responsibility in terms of leadership, the way that I lead, the way I parented, the way I help other people find their leadership, find their place in their space, is to help create an environment where they can help themselves. So it's not doing things for people. Leadership is building relationships of influence that enable people to feel, oh my gosh, I can do that, I can grab that, I can be that, I can, yeah.
Fantastic. And, you know, we are here to celebrate International Women's Day. And for me, every day is International Women's Day. I celebrate being a woman. I love the femininity that we bring. I love the different diversity of thought, of thinking that we bring to boardroom tables, to leadership roles. And as you say, leadership isn't always in the front. It can be in the back, in the kitchen, while we cook. We are in the kitchens of marae, of huis, wherever we are, there are leaders everywhere. So who would you like to acknowledge in terms of inspirational women that have supported you to be who you are today, Sina?
Thank you. I would not be where I am today without my mother. And it's interesting because people who know our family, who know my parents when they were a couple and when we were living in Samoa, she was definitely the power behind the throne. She, you know, I guess I really acknowledge her on a number of levels. One, before she had us as children, she made a decision when she met my father in the 1960s to go against her father's wishes. And you know, imagine New Zealand in the 1960s, you know, our history around mixed race marriage, you know, people having relationships. Globally, it wasn't a done thing, and certainly in New Zealand, it was not a done thing. So my grandparents on my mother's side very strongly resisted my mother's choosing to go to Samoa to be with a man that she fell in love with at Teachers Training College. So I recognize, although she's being quiet in the background, the fact that she did that to me showed, wow, there's some power and determination. She then got on a plane and went to Samoa with him. Never been out of New Zealand, and I can't imagine the cultural shock. But she made some quite significant choices about, I have chosen this path, so I am then going to learn what it means to be Samoan. So she, unlike, you know, a number of my dad's other friends, because they all were educated and married non-Samoans, she learnt the language. She really tried very, very hard, and it's not easy to come in as an outsider to Samoan culture, to any really, you know, culture that is really strong. So I really admire her for that. I admire her for the support that she gave my father, his career and his I guess fame, and the ability that he had to progress and pursue his love of writing. She had a lot to do with that because she supported that. But at the same time, they're both teachers, that's how they met. And I still meet people today. My mother's just turned 75 and 70. Oh my gosh, she's going to kill me. 70. And I still meet people today who she taught when they were 11 and 12 in Samoa. They always ask me with great warmth, how is Jenny? How is your mum? And I go, wow, the legacy that she left, very quietly. She's caring, she's very thoughtful. Those qualities that I really value, and I've learned a lot from her about how to be strong.
Yeah.
And still kind of own your space, even though you might not be at the front, you might not be at the back. And even my extended family, the Samoan family, always, because my parents split up, 25 years ago. And, they've now married new partners and all of that, and it's great. They're both very happy. But a lot of my Samoan family really love my mum, and I go, wow, that's because she really invested. So I honour her for what she's created in her life and the lives of others.
And I know that you've got the other generation, which is your daughter, who represents the new generation coming through. And, I'm amazed at your daughter, what she does. So, would you like to explain what your daughter does and that new generation that is coming through?
So Isabella is an emerging opera singer, a soprano, and she has a vision for herself that is about singing on the world stage, being able to practice her craft, and she has a dream and a vision for herself, which is really powerful. And she sees it and we see it because she's so invested in it. She's also had amazing support. So if I was to backtrack to she'll be 26 this year, to 25 years ago, and the conscious choices that I made around how I raised my daughter, the upbringing I had in Samoa as a child was amazing, really warm, nourishing. I felt very cherished, but everybody did everything for me. And so one of the conscious choices I made as a parent was that I would help my child help themselves and create space where they would have choice. I also think it's a generational thing. This generation is quite privileged around, especially if they've had a good start in life and have parents who have means to be able to choose. And so I think my daughter appreciates the privilege that she has. However, the fact that she was allowed to follow her and able to follow her passions through school, and then arts, music, loved all of those things, and then to take a risk and be encouraged to say, we will support you, and then have teachers come and say, your daughter has an amazing instrument and a gift, we will help her. So there's that family, wider community support that she has. And I just, I go, wow, if I was that focused at 25, imagine where, but it's about, I'm so thankful. And she is very inspiring.
She is. I've watched her on video, and I think, wow, that tool, but also to have that drive and that, as you say, that vision at that age is it's so motivating. So I really encourage people to go and to support her. Going forward, she was going for an AMP scholarship. I remember that. Yeah,
last year. Well, I guess one of the things that she's been very focused on is to achieve her goals. She has a 5-year plan, and to be able to fund her own way. So we support her, but she is to enter competitions and, win for experience, but also the money that comes from that. So that's been really a big part of her strategy. And I go, well, that's good. That's that independent. I want to do this by myself with other people, but also contribute to that. I just wish all young people, I guess that's my dream for that generation, as I look at her, and being probably one of the big reasons why I've moved quite deliberately into mentoring young women, all women, Pacific, Māori, Samoan, older, younger, because I just wish that if we all had that kind of opportunity, imagine what this world would look like.
Imagine, Sina. Imagine. And, that's a really nice segue into the future of gender equality, gender parity. And I know you have some really, strong but purposeful views on what that looks like. It would be great if you could share some of your, I suppose, key learnings and what you see for the future in terms of equality and parity.
So I guess I might start with a quote. I think it was Ban Ki-moon at last year's International Women's Day, who said, and I'm going to read it because when we hold back 50% of our population, how can we expect to achieve 100% human potential? So I go, if we do not include, if women, and I'm just going to broadly, women, young girls are not at the table, are not influencing and having choice in their own lives, then, the world's, we're not achieving or the opportunities for the world to fix problems and the challenges that we have. I think for me, there is a nuance to how I view gender equality, which is about being an Indigenous woman and in that space. So more broadly, for me, gender equality is about full diversity of gender at the table, making decisions and choices about their own lives. So for me, yes, I'm about 50-50 by 2030, and I'm a champion for that. Young women my age, and the intergenerational conversation is really important around that. But within that, I then go, where are Pacific, Māori, ethnic women, if I'm talking about New Zealand context, and I go, where are they vis-a-vis the broad women collective? And we're not doing well enough. We are, so my role, because I kind of straddle a very broad world around in terms of connectedness to leaders, my challenge to leadership in New Zealand across the different sectors is diversity of gender is really important, but you cannot ignore the cultural diversity and lack of it, because if you've got men and women, you've got white men and women, and then you've got Māori men and Māori women, or Samoan men and Samoan women. Indigenous women are last, bottom of the list. So for me, I'm just interested in really challenging people's understanding and perceptions of where the inequality is, and not saying we all have to try and fix all the problems, but to really work strategically in our spaces to say, who are the others that are not included in this meeting, in this conversation, at this table, that could actually help shape a different solution or a different product or a different service, whether it's corporate or public sector policy. For me, the gender equality piece sits squarely within that cultural, ethnic diversity piece as well.
And those conversations, Sina, since I've been back in Aotearoa, they're starting to happen.
Yep.
I don't believe they happen enough yet. And the measure for me personally is when I'm able to see government, corporate leadership, boards, governance roles, where we are reflective as leadership of the population that we are serving, then we would have got it right. Today, we don't have it right.
No, but I think you're right. I think the conversations are being had, and the challenge is to have them at the tables. And I think there's pieces of work being done around how do we change the system. So how do we change organizational culture through policy, through our buy-in at a senior level, and then there's the conversations that are happening at community level.
Yes.
See, some of the most challenging leadership situations I've been faced with around gender have not been in mainstream. They have been within my own community because of the male-female dynamic. If I take Pacific, and then if I was to go Samoan, and be really honest, some of the people that have challenged me the most and actually got in my way quite deliberately to stop me have been Samoan and Pacific men who are very invested in staying in a position or maintaining the status quo because it serves them individually. When I go and I have an opportunity to talk to young women, I'm really trying to open their eyes to the fact that actually sometimes the people that will be the biggest barriers are not the ones you think. And to be very conscious and aware of who you are, what you bring to a conversation or a team, and how you use your voice. And don't be stymied or stopped by cultural protocol. I think there's a real tension for us as Indigenous women around managing that. And then when we take it into a mainstream context, and I look at, if I was to say who are the well-known Pacific leaders, they're mostly men.
Yeah.
The men are the ones, because the men kind of get each other. And they have similar approaches to leadership. So it's easy for them to relate to each other, even with a cultural difference, because they have a different style. And I just think women have to stick together a lot more. Women have to support each other a lot more and actively make space.
Conscious leadership.
Yeah.
Conscious leadership in everything that we do and everything that we say and all of the conversations that we're having. We need to be conscious of, you know, what is out there, what are the challenges, and how are we going to work together to overcome that. It's too hard doing it alone. I've tried.
Yes, yes. And I think it's really, I love what you're doing with RISE, because Māori and Pacific women, we actually have a lot in common.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've done a bit of work with ethnic women, and they're obviously a lot of them are new migrant. They are struggling too, you know, so we need to get together a lot and to figure out strategies for supporting, and especially our young women, because there's also an age paradigm that impacts our young Pacific women, which is actually we're kept in a place because of our age. Some of the challenge that I've had in Pacific settings has also been about the fact that not just that I'm a woman, but that I'm a young woman, and that I don't have a chiefly title, or that I'm not of an age, or that I'm apakasi, which is hard. So what could you know anyway? So, you know, I just go, well, okay, that's your view. I'm just going to do it anyway. And if you want to play, I'm going to go find somebody who will champion the cause and work with me. I think turning 50, there's something about going, well, you know, my time left to do this purposeful, create ethical, authentic leadership for New Zealand, and particularly working with Pacific, is to work with the people that want to work with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Other people can try and fix the ones that go, oh, no, too hard. You're too hard. You're a bit too dangerous for me. A bit too outspoken for me, or you kind of challenge my whole ideas about what a Pacific woman leader looks like.
Yeah.
And some of the biggest challenges actually come from some of our older women in my own community, because I don't behave, you know, we don't behave the way we're supposed to behave. So I think that's a huge challenge for our young women, navigating those spaces, if I think about a Pacific context.
Yeah, and I can't see the word conforming coming into your profile somehow.
I think for a long time I did, but that's part of the leadership journey, right? Some of those challenging situations have really made me, felt awful at the time, but I wouldn't be who I am today without it. And I'm so thankful for those moments in my life and my leadership. Yeah, because it has shaped absolutely who I am and where I'm going now.
And the growth and the learning is in those challenging times. That's when we truly are able to really define, you know, who we are and you know, what leadership looks like for us, because it is unique. It is unique. Leadership is unique per individual. Yes. And, you know, I love what you're doing in terms of mindful leadership. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with where you're going with that, you know, conscious, mindful, aware, awake leaders. Amazing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, when I look globally, they've been talking about this for a long time. And so for me, the opportunity to even just have the conversation and say to people, if we're much more mindful about ourselves and being much more present and conscious of what's happening around us and who we are in that place, we can be much more mindful leaders and have better EQ and have better CQ and whatever that, you know, be more culturally intelligent, being more emotionally connected to people we lead, to organizations that we're part of, and to life. I mean, leadership is about life. I think it's quite fascinating. People come, you know, well, you're a leader here and then you're this over here. It's like, how are we going to lead ourselves through our life?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, thank you for all of this, the support and encouragement you've given me and what we're doing in terms of RISE 2025, because, you know, it is about bringing collectives together, Māori, Pacifica and Asian women, our three biggest dominant ethnic groups. You know, by 2038, how can we not include them in the conversation? Yeah, if we're going to build things as you do with your programs, we're building it for sustainable change. So, you know, and we spoke before the interview how we're going to collaborate on another, on another project. It is about coming together.
Yeah.
There's power in the collective.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So we are heading into, I can't believe it's March 2016. It's flown by. What is happening for you personally this year in this space of leadership and supporting women? I'd love to share that with everyone.
Sure. So I guess with my Leadership New Zealand hat on, one of our core program that we run is about connecting a diversity of leaders, so men and women, different sets. One of the things that we've noticed, particularly in the last probably 4 or 5 years, is the importance of connecting leaders intergenerationally. So I think there's a really big challenge for younger leaders, and then I can compartmentalize that to young women, about figuring out how to navigate. And if I just take workplace, for example, navigating the fact that they're a particular gender and they're a particular age. So we're having conversations at Leadership New Zealand, and I'd be interested to chat with you outside of this about it too, to see how we can support younger leaders in the first 10 years of work, to say, are you up for it? Do you know what's ahead? And how to help you navigate some of that stuff. Because some of the conversations we're having it all comes down to relationships. It all comes down to politics. Why are they behaving that way? Why would somebody do that to me? I thought, I've done a really great project of presentation. And when they hit roadblocks, that they're actually prepared for them. Yeah. But then they also can be more proactive because they want to influence. I've noticed younger leaders in that younger demographic, they want to change the world tomorrow. And it's not that we want to stop that passion and that energy, but I think organizations are really missing out on the opportunity to leverage that. And women are much smarter to start with. I'm going to all the men that watch this, but I do think that women go in with much higher EQ and much better preparedness for working with people who are different. And I think we just need to give them some tools and have those conversations, because I go, well, imagine if we talk to them and we engage them in an experience, which is what you're doing with your coaching, right? When they're 22, 25, so they're not at 45 going, oh my gosh, I need help being a leader, or I need to be a better leader. We're actually doing it. So that's an area that I'm really keen to launch some things this year and working on specifically to say, how do we create an experience that is diverse? YWCA, I sit on a co-president of that organisation, and we're really interested in the younger woman aged 18 to 30. Yep. So again, looking at, and I guess this is the diversity opportunity you might have, because you're certainly on the list to talk to about bringing that diversity of women together, but younger women, and connecting them to each other.
I can see it already.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days together.
YWCA, RISE2025, Global Women, all coming together for the next generation.
Yeah, so that's kind of my new not new thing. It's area of development. So that I'm keen to work on.
Great. Well, here to support, and I know that everything that you do it with purpose, and the quality of what you're producing in terms of your program, and the people that are coming out of your program also, and what they've gone on to do is a tribute to all the hard work, Sina, because I know
of a lot of people.
Yeah, but I know it doesn't just happen organically. It takes a lot of planning, preparation going forward.
Yeah. And conversation. I mean, I think you talked about conversation, and I think that's the richest way that we can start connecting in a way that we can make a difference.
Yes.
I think about, the alumni from the Global Women in Breakthrough Leaders program that I'm part of, our Leadership New Zealand alumni. There's nearly 400 of them nationally. There are other, organizations who have people with a really similar mindset around what leadership needs to look like for New Zealand. So let's carry on the conversation and make some connections. I'm really excited about that.
And earlier this week or last week, we had Christina Leaf, who is an amazing young woman, and really talking about her style of leadership, what she sees for the future. And one of the things that I got out of her interview was, we are not listening to them enough.
Yeah.
We are not leveraging off the knowledge and wisdom and the things that they can teach us. So yeah, absolutely on that page as well. But as we wrap up, Sina, is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with in terms of, going forward into this new world that we find ourselves with? Globalization, technology, automation, robotics are coming. What is it that you would like to leave with our listeners around International Women's Day every day going forward?
Probably in all of that complexity and all of that huge global dynamic, for me, it's about relationships. Fundamentally, leadership is about creating relationships of influence. So if someone is sitting out there going, I can't do this, I can't be this, I'm not sure how to do this, the way to create change is to connect with other people. And that's authentic relationships. So it's not, I think the biggest transition in the last decade has been moving from transactional leading is doing and getting stuff done. Yes, as leaders, we want to do that. The way to do it successfully is to really build authentic relationships with other people, and you connect on the values level and what are their things that they want to achieve. So when I'm mentoring and particularly younger women, I'm saying, well, who do you want to be in the world, and how are you going to connect that to that person who you want to work with? And it comes down to knowing each other as human beings. That's where it starts. So I think if we can build more of those, then actually creating change will be a lot easier.
I agree.
Creating effective, successful change that actually benefits everybody. So the hero leader, I'm here for me and what I want to do is gone. So the collective intelligence, cultural intelligence, that's what we need to really mobilize and get some impact.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know
encourage people to do that and connect with me. I'm here. I'm happy to. I've got, one of the things I do have is a really good network. So if I can help people connect them to other people, then yeah.
And how would they get in touch with you, Sina?
So I'm on LinkedIn, so people can look for me there if they want to connect with me individually. They can obviously go and look at our Leadership New Zealand website, which is leadershipnz.co.nz. But LinkedIn's probably the best way, or they can just email me on sina.moore@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I'd like to acknowledge you for everything you do for women, young women, all women. In the time that you have, I know that you are like everyone. You've got a busy schedule, but I know you create time and space for connecting and mentoring with women. So thank you, Sina. Thank you for taking the time out of your diary today to be with me and to be fully present. I loved the conversation. And I really look forward to working more collectively together, seeing you more in person, hopefully.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. And I know that we will continue to have these conversations going forward around leadership. So thank you very much, Sina.
Bye, Rachel.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.